Elisa has a European background, Polish.
Yep.
Polish-German background, and a lot of her work is about finding her identity within all the layers of her history and ancestry and being here, and off you go.
I wished my head is completely empty right now because I listened to 3 very good talks. And I get nervous at these talks, and I'm not a native speaker, and I live in 3 languages, and when I get nervous, I just
speak in
forget words, and I can't find them in any language. And I also have the problem that with this piece of work, I decided very late in the week what I want to tell you, so it's not settled in my head yet. So if you allow me to refer to my notes, I will probably read a little bit at the start, and then I hope that at least you will help me a little bit, and then somehow we will get through it. So the English title of this is Nostalgia. And nostalgia nowadays in English means a sentimental longing for something that lies in the past. People often conflate reminiscing and nostalgia, but memories actually only become nostalgic when this experience of longing is there, when we really want this unreal and untrue perfectness that we imagine the past to be, to come back. And this is quite irresistible, despite the fact that we know that we probably remember it wrong. But although we know that it can't be right, nostalgia is not touched by it, because nostalgia builds a kind of a place for itself, a territory that is really difficult to touch, and it stays there unspoiled and uncontaminated. So if you're prone to nostalgia, probably reason won't do anything for you, it won't pull you out of it. But on the other hand, I also think that it's not wrong that nostalgia doesn't need to be negative. It actually can be deeply meaningful, and it can be comforting. For me, definitely thinking back of where I come from, trying to find the home that I've lost when I left the places where I lived before. It actually, although it comes from a place of distress, of this feeling of homelessness, it actually is very comforting in the engaging in nostalgia, thinking about these nice places and nice times. The other thing about it, although it has an English title, when you look at it, in front of it is the Polish word tęsknota, and it can be translated with nostalgia, but nostalgia actually is not quite wide enough to encompass the full meaning of it. The Portuguese saudade is much closer to it. And I would like to read a little bit about it. Saudade describes a deeply emotional state of profound melancholic longing for an absent something or someone. Moreover, it also implies the knowledge that what you're longing for will never come back. It's lost forever. But the recollection of feelings, of experiences, places or events that made your past so beautiful to you, now when you think about it, they actually bring you back to life again. So it isn't for the Portuguese or for the Poles, when Portuguese say saudade and we say tęsknota, we don't talk about something completely negative. It's a connection of sad and happy feelings at the same time. So the question, you might ask if happy memories are happy or sad, they don't have a yes or no answer. How do I put it? It encompasses, there is sadness about missing something, but at the same time you're happy that what you're missing, you actually experienced it in the past. Caroline mentioned that I originally come from Poland, and all my works, at least in this series of work that deals with these childhood memories and the loss of home, They combine pieces of craft and folk art and traditional skills, and also obviously the medium of textile, which all amounts to a usually quite beautiful in a traditional sense piece, and also puts it in sort of in the female sphere. So in Western cultures, works like that we always associate with women's experience. And I lost my notes.
May I
Last week, yeah?
the colors that you're using here. Can you say something about the colors? Because in the last Biennale you made a piece also with lots of
people
red and
often
white.
ask me about this. I mean, I could say something quite naff that the Polish flag is Polish and red, but it doesn't come from that. Basically, looking at folk crafts and arts, you notice, at least in Poland, a lot of it is based in linen, which was white or just off-white when it wasn't bleached. And obviously red is a very primal color, and when you look around the world, in every folk culture, you have a lot of red. But I also now came to think about it, and it's a signal color, a beautiful color, it draws your attention. But also in Polish culture, there was this belief that red is a protective color, protects you from the evil eye. So, that's why girls had red ribbons braided into their hair. The same was done with horses, tails and so on. Or by the door stood broom with red ribbons, draped over it. So I kind of imagine that maybe I'm using a lot of that color in my effort to protect it from oblivion, the little bits and pieces of my memory, keeping it there for me, keeping it alive. So I guess that would be that about the color.
I don't know what that was. I forgot what I wanted to ask. I'm sorry.
Okay, then I say maybe what I was thinking about, because last week at the opening, several people came to me and said, "Oh, this is really beautiful, this piece." And one person added that they actually wished that for once I did work that wasn't beautiful. And it got me thinking, as an artist, many of us, or maybe all of us, often feel quite self-conscious about what we're doing. And I definitely do. So I sort of was a little bit on the defense, but then I started thinking about it, and beauty is often associated with art, at least for the general public. People often, when they go to look at art, they expect to encounter something really beautiful and pleasing to look at. And nowadays, beauty is not really the main focus of art, and in fact, for many people, it's sort of regarded as being passé, so, I don't know, 18th century. It's not what we're looking for in artworks. But I think that my work, and specifically work like that, this work in this series, I need this beauty to be in there as almost as a kind of a device to anchor the work in this place and time, to explain this place and time this work is about. Yeah. It just, I don't know, for me it just can't look any other way, because that's how I perceive the mood. Yes, yeah. It is precious. Also, it's almost a kind of I'm building little reliquaries, yes. Like in the church with a piece of bone, but that's how I remember the mood of the place. And the place was also very much defined because it's such a, Catholic place, this over-the-top godliness everywhere. People run to church morning, lunch, and dinner time. And so the church, although I myself decided with 7, that's nothing for me, I don't believe in anything, and it wasn't anything for me, but it defined the landscape, the physical landscape, and also the landscape as a mentality of people and the place, that there were churches everywhere. And when you walked into them, they were just, it's richness beyond belief, you know, everywhere gold and gilded statues, and the red color, and blues and whites and yellows. And yeah, and I mean, it was the 60s and 70s, so everything wasn't quite as modern as it is nowadays. So that's sort of, that's the place. That it might not be the physical place, it might be the mental place, the emotional place, yes. And basically the beauty of it is not just cosmetic, it's not about this piece of work being pretty. It's more about communicating the affect and the emotion that I have, because I think that, at least for me, art is there, I'm making it to express what I feel, to express what I think, what I like, and also more personal, it's very much personal to me, to say, that's what I am.
Yeah.
You know, when, I sometimes think, oh, this is a beautiful work, or that's work that I like, but I could never do that because it's not, I don't have it in me, it's not my language, it's not, you know, I recently, I was just thinking that if I now decided to maybe, if I found the visual language to make political work, and if I made work about politics in Australia right now, it possibly would be a very ugly piece. But that's who I am. That's what I want to communicate to you, and I don't know if it's a successful piece of communication. Joe just mentioned that having an audience for your work is part of the work. That's how I always viewed it. You know, if I make something and it just sits in my closet, it's kind of not finished. The finished point is not that I have here something on the wall. That's just the result of the process, and it can be the proof that the process was successful. The piece is finished with you here, with people coming and walking and maybe spending more than just half a second, you know, looking at it.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by these red bits, because you're talking about it's beautiful, but I also feel it's almost that it's bleeding. Is it a bit?
Tears.
Yes, or tears. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said to me that it looks like blood, actually, but it's more about the process of, it's more about how memory works and how we remember, how, you know, every time we remember it a little bit different, and each time we remember is already influenced by the last time we remembered. So in effect, we don't remember the events, we basically remember the memory, how we remembered it previously, and the next time it will be again affected by this time, and it will change. And sort of this piece, you know, with the bits of it being printed, and then I try to finish it off with the red thread, and I'm trying to finish it off with the creamy thread. It's about how we trying to put the pieces together, and how sometimes we success in part and it morphs. It becomes naturally also, especially with childhood memories, you know, they become really fantastic and beautiful. That's what I was talking about, that we know that this beautiful, unreal past we remember is not right, but that's how we do it. It settles in our heads as something very fantastical and mythical, and something that has to be missed, because it's also, obviously, it's part of the childhood, that it's a time where we don't, as children, we don't have anything to worry about. We just live into the day and into the next day and have fun. And at the same time, we still, while we're trying to remember, we forget. So pieces of it fall apart and we get lost.
Yeah. Because that's also a bit of a recurring part of your work, to have the strings.
Yeah, experimenting with it right now.
And
the piece last year, that was one of the first one where things were unraveling and falling apart.
Yeah. So is that also symbolic then for what's happening with you?
I guess so. What's happening with my memories?
Yes.
How I can't really recreate that. And obviously the thing, when I was talking about nostalgia or saudade, I miss it, I remember it. At the same time, I know it's not coming back. So I can only have it in my mind, and I can only tell stories about it. But it is not there, and maybe it never was there. You know, it tends to happen that when you cherish something and you carry it with you, you end up with something completely different than what you thought you took with you when you departed. Yeah. So, it's always to be taken with a grain of salt when we talk. I remember exactly. Yeah. Probably not. And it's just even the process. It's not just the piece itself or the idea behind it. The process of making them, for me, it's something that quiets me down, makes me happy. Although there is also a lot of tears and swearing and oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, but it's almost like a therapy for me, and I enjoy sharing it. You know, sometimes people say, if you're not happy in this new place, just go back, or, you know, why don't you like it, or what is it that makes you unhappy? That's what it is, you know, that's where I come from. Please understand that's what is the base of me, who I am nowadays, although I moved through time and places, but it all builds on this one foundation, on this white and red that will never go away. That will be always part of me. It will taint every experience I have. Yeah. Taint, I think, has a negative connotation, but it will color it in good or in bad ways, but it will be always there.
Any questions?
More of a statement, just that you spoke beautifully. So
thank you.
Don't be worried.
Yeah, I think once you get going.
I always see him, and when we come home, he will tell me, here you were a little bit incoherent.
No.
Yeah. Oh, and I know that because I jump from one to another. You know, if I can't find the right word at the right time, I just start somewhere else.
It was very so it's lovely, but I feel really connected to the work. I don't know why. I think my family are from a similar place, and that red embroidery really like brings back the nostalgia of my childhood visiting my grandparents and stuff. And but yeah, I really like how it's like it's fraying, like your memories. Your memories fray. I love the beauty, but then that it's it's almost slightly haunting, but not in a bad way. The fraying of it, of the beauty. So it's like, yeah.
Thank you. That's how it. Yeah, that's how it's meant to be. The things falling apart are not necessarily bad, and you end up with something new.
Thank you, Elisa. It's quite personal, isn't it? You're really sort of exposing yourself.
Yeah, I once said to somebody who was writing an essay for me, I said I would probably never pose naked for a magazine or something, but that's the way where I don't really have a problem to show myself. It's just human.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.